Students, now the next topic is pregnancy and embryonic development. One disclaimer I want to share here, and my experience also. Students generally have difficulty in this topic. I have seen even the toppers, they have difficulty in this topic. Even after completion of the syllabus, they come to the teacher, sir, you have not understood the embryonic developmental process. See, something which cannot be imagined, cannot be understood very clearly. That is one thing you should know. Moreover, it is not our intention also, neither the intention of the textbook, nor the intention of the NTA to ask you very detailed questions on this topic. I am giving you this disclaimer that please do not try to enter deep into the topic. Whatever I am writing on the board, I am explaining. If you are able to understand that, it is more than enough for NEET examination. Remember, we have not come here to become an embryologist. We may become a very famous embryologist later on. Right now, our intention to become a doctor, our intention to pass the NEET examination and not to become Von Bayer. Let's begin now. This is pregnancy and embryonic development. Identify this structure. Try to recall from the previous lecture, the previous video, what is this? And yes, you are right, this is a blastocyst. With a little change here, the inner cell mass has been differentiated into two layers. One yellow color that you see here, hypoblast and epiblast. And in the previous diagram, we have seen that as a inner cell mass. Apart from that, this one is the trophoblast. And now the real work is coming, tropho, which means nourishment. It is deriving nutrition from the maternal tissue. And also remember that this is the uterine lumen, the lumen of the uterus, and this is the wall of the uterus. The uterine epithelium, we know this is called, it is the endometrium, epithelium of the endometrium. This is the connective tissue of the uterus, and these are the blood vessels of the uterus. I have written them maternal blood capillaries. And what this process is being shown. Yes, you are right, this is implantation. So, this is the uterine lumen and this is the uterine wall. The purple color, the violet color that you see here, this is the epithelium of endometrium. This one is the connective tissue, maternal connective tissue, uterine connective tissue, and these are the maternal capillaries, the blood vessels of the uterus. So, from this side, this is the maternal tissue, mother. Now, the fetus, from this pink color line, this is the fetus. And the very embryo fetus or the newborn, the body will be formed by this structure which is called inner cell mass. This is mother, this is fetus. And what you see here, that this trophoblast has been differentiated into two layers now. One is a pink colored layer, and this pink colored layer is now forming finger like projections inside the maternal tissue. Why? So as to derive nutrition from the mother, so as to derive the respiratory gas from the mother. If you want to know the name of this pink colored structure, generally we call it as chorionic villi. Chorionic villi, and actually they are formed by the part of the trophoblast which is called syncytial trophoblast. Syncytial trophoblast, ST, syncytial trophoblast, and this white color that you see here, this is the cytotrophoblast. I will write here CT, cytotrophoblast. trophoblast. Or else you can just understand it is trophoblast, and this is one layer which has come out of trophoblast, this pink color one, and showing finger like projection inside the maternal tissue. This is a feto-maternal connective, and this is the structural and functional unit of connection between the mother and the fetus. This structure is going to become a very important structure in pregnancy and development, which is called placenta. The literal meaning of placenta is a cake, because it really looks like a cake with a candle in the center. When you see the placenta specimen, it really looks like a cake, and the candle in the center is nothing but the cut umbilical cord. Anyways, coming to this diagram, try to imagine this is placenta, and this one which I was saying, the candle in the cake, is nothing but a cord which is called umbilical cord. Umbilical cord. And why it is called umbilical cord? Because it is connected to the umbilicus of the fetus. This is the fetus, developing fetus, and this is the umbilicus of the fetus where this is connected. Therefore, it is called umbilical cord, and it has got blood vessels. There are two veins and one capillary. We will take the transverse section of the umbilical cord. What you find there are two arteries and one vein, two umbilical arteries, one umbilical vein, and the remaining is the connective tissue. It is a jelly-like connective tissue, which is known as Wharton's jelly. Wharton's jelly, a jelly-like connective tissue which is called Wharton's jelly, and also it has got some stem cells. One question is, what percentage of fetal blood is in the umbilical cord? What percentage of fetal blood is in the umbilical cord? Your options are 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. I repeat, 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. You can pause the video and can think of your answer and can come back. So, hope you have thought the answer. The correct answer is 100%. 100% of this blood is fetal blood. These are the arteries which arise from the fetal artery only, and they go to the placenta, and there is one barrier which is there between the maternal blood and the fetal blood. Remember, though we have a blood relation, but our blood, I mean the fetal blood and the maternal blood, never mix together. A very little blood gets leak, which is called intrauterine leak, when the placental detachment takes place during childbirth, during parturition. And you know that those few RBCs are responsible for the disease called erythroblastosis fetalis. Otherwise, maternal and fetal blood are not mixing. My dear students, so I'll just summarize point wise what all you have to learn. Point number one, what you see here is the implantation going on. Point number one is the term called chorionic villi. Point number two, that ultimately this goes and forms the placenta, which is a feto-maternal connective, a connective between fetus and the mother. Point number three is the fetus and the placenta are connected by umbilical cord. Point number four, umbilical cord has got blood vessels called umbilical vessel. There are two umbilical artery and one umbilical vein. And also remember that there is the connective tissue known as Wharton's jelly. Point number five is this entire blood is actually fetal blood. And point number six, you can add one more point here, that what type of blood that you see here. Remember, umbilical vein, this has got oxygenated blood. Umbilical vein has oxygenated blood and umbilical arteries have comparatively deoxygenated. Though it is a mixed blood, but compared to the umbilical vein blood, this has less oxygen as compared to the blood in umbilical vein. My advice to you is, please note down everything, and at least what all is you see on the board, please make it in your rough notebook. If your hand works, finger works, your mind works. I'll just label all this, once again. So this is the uterus, epithelium of the endometrium, and this is the connective tissue and the capillaries. This complete is called endometrium, which is the lining of the uterus. This is the blastocyst. Now it is implanting. Can you notice from which side it implants? The side where the inner cell mass is there, it implants from there. Can you think of which is the most common site of implantation in the uterus? Yes, you are right. It is the fundus of the uterus, most common site of implantation. So this is the epithelium of endometrium. Then you find these are the chorionic villi, a part which is formed from the trophoblast. Now this complete is the trophoblast. We have differentiated it into two layers. The white one is the cytotrophoblast and the pink one is syncytiotrophoblast or syncytiotrophoblast. Why? Because it is a multinucleate condition, therefore the name syncytiotrophoblast. Or else you can just take it complete as the trophoblast. The inner cell mass is differentiated into two layers, the blue color epiblast and the yellow color is the hypoblast. Yes, you are right, this is the blastocele, the cavity of blastocyst. So this is umbilical cord, umbilicus, fetus, placenta, and this is the transverse section. These are the two umbilical arteries and the umbilical vein, and remember it has got the oxygenated blood in the umbilical vein. And this connective tissue, jelly like connective tissue, is called Wharton's jelly. Sometimes a direct question is asked as Wharton's jelly. These villi that develop from the trophoblast, they are known as chorionic villi. Can you think of a hormone produced by chorionic villi? Think. Yes, you are right. This is called HCG, which is called human chorionic gonadotropin. It is a luteinizing hormone type of hormone, LH type of hormone, which is produced almost after 7 days of implantation. It starts getting secreted after 7 days of implantation. And the function of it is to rescue the regressing corpus luteum. Continue with the placenta, functions of the placenta. The functions of the placenta is to exchange the nutrients from the maternal blood to the fetal blood. It is exchanged. Then oxygen and carbon dioxide, oxygen is taken from the maternal blood and carbon dioxide is given to the maternal blood. Other nitrogenous wastes are disposed in the maternal blood, and it is also a temporary endocrine structure. There are some hormones produced by placenta. Placenta is formed approximately after 3 months of fertilization. So the hormones produced by the placenta is number one, HCG, the same hormone, human chorionic gonadotropin. Not to forget the estrogens and the main hormone of pregnancy, which is progesterone. Main hormone of pregnancy. Apart from that, there is HPL, human placental lactogen, human placental lactogen, and in the later months of pregnancy, in the last few days of pregnancy, there is a hormone produced called relaxin. Not to forget that this relaxin is also produced by the ovaries. It is also produced by the ovary as well as from the placenta. Relaxin is produced in the later part of the pregnancy, and as the name indicate, it relaxes the ligaments of the pelvis. It relaxes the symphysis pubis so that the head of the fetus can be an idea. There is one joint between the two pubis which is called symphysis pubis. During pregnancy and particularly during childbirth, there is a little movement in that joint. Normally that joint does not move, and this hormone relaxin, which helps in the movement, it makes the joint relaxed and the movement in the joint is allowed. This is to facilitate the childbirth. My dear students, there are two questions which I am now going to discuss with you. Very important question. Question number 1: which of the following is not secreted by placenta? Which of the following hormones is not secreted by the placenta? Luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, T3, which is triiodothyronine, a hormone from thyroid gland, and all of the above. Now, what is the answer? You can pause the video and think of the answer. Hope you have thought the answer. Yes, the correct answer is all of the above. None of them is produced by the placenta. Remember, these are the gonadotropins, and gonadotropins are secreted from the pituitary gland, and these gonadotropins can promote menstrual cycle, and you know that during pregnancy there is amenorrhea, temporary cessation of menstrual cycle, amenorrhea. Hope you have understood this question. So, neither LH nor FSH and neither of these thyroid hormones are produced by the placenta. Another question: which of the following are secreted only during pregnancy? A very important question. Your options are human placental lactogen, human chorionic gonadotropin, relaxin, and all of the above. Remember that the structure called placenta is only formed during pregnancy. So, hormone produced by the placenta alone can only be found during pregnancy. Human placental lactogen is a placental hormone. Human chorionic gonadotropin, it is also a placental hormone, and relaxin, though it is also produced by the ovary, but it is only produced during pregnancy, not in other normal days. So, here the answer is again all of the above. One more point to understand here: hormones increased several folds during pregnancy. What are the hormones that increase several folds during pregnancy? These are cortisol, thyroxine, estrogen, and progesterone. A very important, progesterone is very high. It is more high as compared to estrogen. The estrogen progesterone ratio is very low during pregnancy, and the prolactin. These hormones increase many folds during pregnancy. You know that the metabolic rate of the mother is very high. The metabolism of the mother has to be stimulated. Thyroxine does the same thing. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and remember that for the body of the mother, it is a stress. Pregnancy is a stress. Estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen is required for the normal physiology of the women reproductive system, and also the progesterone, as the name indicates, it is progesterone. It is a progesterone. It is a pregnancy favoring hormone. Pro means favoring, and gestation is pregnancy. It is a pregnancy favoring hormone. Prolactin, it is also a hormone which produces the milk, which help in production of milk in the mammary glands. So all these hormones increase many folds during pregnancy. Students, I want you to note down these questions and these points, and then we can proceed to the next topic. Dear students, let us now discuss last few topics, last few parts of the topic embryonic development and pregnancy. Now, embryonic development, how the embryo is formed from a ball-like mass called blastocyst. Just we know that the inner cell mass differentiate and form the complete embryo, but what is the process? What steps occur first, then later? My dear student, do not try to go into the detail of this. Just understand here, this is the blastocyst. Already we have seen it is implanting from this side. This is the inner cell mass. In that diagram, already we have differentiated as an epiblast and hypoblast. Now, this epiblast and hypoblast will eventually form an outer layer called ectoderm, and inner layer called endoderm, and a middle layer called mesoderm. These are the germinal layers. Why we call them germinal layers? Because these layers eventually form the entire body of the fetus and of course the adult body. All the tissues and organs are formed from these three layers. For example, the nervous system, the brain, spinal cord, neurons, they are formed from the ectoderm. Mesoderm, the connective tissue, muscles, blood, bones, all from the mesoderm, and the alimentary canal, the lining of the alimentary canal, all from the endoderm. In the physiological chapters, you have some idea. At places we have discussed that this organ developed from this germinal layer. There are some organs which are formed from two germinal layers. For example, the adrenal gland. Can you think of what germinal layer will form the adrenal gland? Yes, your answer, I am giving you the hint, there are two germinal layers. Yes, you are right. It is formed from ectoderm and mesoderm. The outer cortex of the adrenal gland is mesodermal, wherein the inner medulla is ectodermal. Reason being, it is an extension of sympathetic nervous system. So, as I told you that there are organs which are formed from multiple germinal layers, but altogether there are only three of them, and they will form all the tissues of the body. So, the pregnancy or gestation, there are few important landmarks we should know. What occurs at what month? This entire period of pregnancy is called gestation period. In human beings, it is about 40 weeks. Roughly we say 9 months, or I should call it on an average 280 days. 280 days. Now, it is divided into three parts for our ease. First 3 months, first trimester, next 3 months, second trimester, and the last 3 months, third trimester. First trimester, 3 months, next 3 months, second trimester, and this is the third or the last trimester. Now, this is the heart. I have just shown the heart, although it has nothing to do with the heart, this symbol, but you can understand, just this is the heart, the first sign of the fetus, which is the heartbeat, when the doctor put the stethoscope and put the bell of the stethoscope on the tummy of the mother, he or she can hear heartbeat of the fetus, and this is first month of pregnancy. First month of pregnancy. By the second month of pregnancy, limbs and digits are formed. Limbs and digits are formed by the second month of pregnancy. Third month or 12 weeks, by third month or 12 weeks, major organ systems are formed. Major organ systems are formed by the end of first trimester. Limbs and external genitalia are well developed now. They can be easily seen, and this is the time when the radiologist can see by ultrasonography, it can see what sex is the fetus. But remember, prenatal sex determination of the fetus is illegal in our country. In our country, India, it is illegal to find out the sex of the fetus before the birth. But when they used to do, they can see the external genitalia in the ultrasonography. First month, you can hear the heartbeat. Second month, limbs and digits are formed. By the third month, major organ systems are formed, and limbs and external genitalia are well developed now. Now, this is the fourth month and the fifth month. By the end of fifth month, fetus shows signs of movement. The mother can feel the movement of the body parts of the fetus. This is by the end of fifth month. One very important thing, hair on the head develop by the end of fifth month. By the end of second trimester, that is 6 months or approximately 24 weeks, fine hair all over the body are developed. These fine hair, they are called lunago. Fine hair all over the body. Fifth month, hair on the head. Sixth month, all over the body, fine hair called lunago. One very important thing that happens here is eyelids separate, and eyelashes are formed by the end of second trimester. By the end of third trimester, the entire body of the fetus is well developed, and now it is ready for childbirth. We have just seen the gestation period. Average gestation period in humans is 280 days. You should also know the average gestation period in dogs and cats and elephant. In dogs and cats, it is 58 to 68 days. It is same in dogs and cats on an average. In elephants, the average gestation period is about 640 to 660 days. 640 to 660 days, longest in the mammals, longest gestation period. This 640 to 660 approximately 21 or 22 months, longest gestation period in mammals. Students, please pause the video and note everything from the board in your notebooks. Now we come to the last part of this chapter, which is parturition and lactation. What is parturition? It simply means expulsion of the fully grown fetus out of the uterus through birth canal. Through birth canal, and not to forget what forms the birth canal. The cervical canal and vagina both form the birth canal. This is the definition of parturition. How it occurs? When the fetus is fully developed, then some signals originate from the fetus. And not only the fetus, at that time, even the placenta generates certain signals. So, from both these, signals originate and they start causing mild uterine contractions. Mild uterine contractions. Focus on the word here, mild. Mild uterine contractions. This is the fetal ejection reflex. It is a mammalian character. It occurs only in mammals. Very important. Also known as Ferguson reflex. Ferguson's reflex. Now, it is a self-sustaining mechanism. A self-sustaining mechanism. Very simple, you understand this. When the signals originate from the fully developed fetus and the placenta, mild uterine contractions occur. These uterine contractions send signal to the pituitary and there is release of oxytocin from posterior pituitary. When oxytocin comes in the blood, it causes some more vigorous uterine contractions. Now, when some stronger contractions occur, it will give signal for the release of more oxytocin. More oxytocin will cause the contractions more stronger, and this is the way a positive feedback generates. That is why I am calling it a self-sustaining mechanism, an example of a positive feedback. So, contractions are causing the release of oxytocin. Oxytocin is causing more contraction, more and more contraction, more oxytocin release and more contraction till the contraction becomes strongest, and those strongest contraction causes the expulsion of the fetus, which is called parturition. There are a few questions here. What do also remember that it is a neuroendocrine mechanism. Signals pass through the nervous system and then the endocrine gland is secreting the hormone. So, remember that fetal ejection reflex is actually a neuroendocrine mechanism, both nervous as well as endocrine system. Let us do these questions. What do doctors inject to induce labor? Labor is the term given to the entire process of childbirth. You must have heard about or read about labor pains because the mother feels pain during this process. Sometimes the labor is not induced by itself after the completion of terms. Then the doctor inject something to induce labor, and now you can very easily answer what the doctors inject. Doctors inject oxytocin hormone. Another question is, what happens to the placenta after the expulsion of the fetus? Think of the answer. Yes, in human beings, the placenta and the umbilical cord both are expelled out in a process called afterbirth. When the baby comes out, then the placenta and the umbilical cord are also expelled by the strong contractions of the uterus. During the process or the period of gestation, many physiological and anatomical changes occur in the breast too. At the end of pregnancy, the mother is able to feed the young one by her breast milk. This is called lactation. Remember that during the lactation period, the pituitary gonadotropins are not released. So, the amenorrhea continues in the lactation period also. which is called lactational amenorrhea. Students, I believe that I have taken all the points, and I am strongly hoping that you have understood the topic, you have taken the notes of everything from the board, and I can challenge nothing in the NEET can stop you from scoring the maximum marks in biology. Please pause the video and note down the content. Thank you.